Good afternoon. I want to say from the outset that if I sound somewhat effusive today, it's because I am in awe of all dimensions of this proceedings. I've been a strong fan of SHRM for a long time. I very much appreciate what you do for our community and for our national links and associations as well, too. Certainly a remarkable organization and remarkable organizers, too, just in setting up this event. And also, I want to shout out to all the SOBs in the room. I always have to do that. They make me do so. But I'm excited also about the fact that we're talking about building a better Atlanta. It's my adopted town. My name's Konsynski. I'm Polish, therefore I'm from Chicago by law. But nonetheless, my mother's from Jessup, Georgia, and so I feel like I'm certainly in my adopted town, and this is a place where I expect to extend my time here on this earth, and share the concerns and interests that many of you do for this arena. But we have an awesome, absolutely awesome panel to deal with issues associated with building a better Atlanta. And in normal circumstances, as many of the folks that know me know, I often intervene a lot and direct the discussion. I doubt that will be desirable nor possible with this community we have today. And certainly, it's a great honor to have Mayor Reed with us today. I'm very happy that he's participating in this venue and offering his comments. And certainly, I would like to hear about his visit with President Obama. And I see we've seen some fruits of that visit recently with in some monetary fashions that have come out. I don't know that those are directly linked, but certainly we can certainly celebrate that. And Sam Williams I've known for quite some time, and certainly an exemplar of chamber direction and chamber guidance that I've seen through the years, balancing all aspects of the community and community interests. And so we're anxious to hear about our issues of certainly talent formation, the work and life activities of Atlanta that create an environment that we can celebrate, and we can also leverage then from the standpoint of our human resource initiatives in these activities. And I've known Ed for quite some time as well, and I don't think there's anyone I respect more in thinking about the issues of whether the print publication and its augmented forms and its evolution into the 21st century forms, as Ed has done. And Mike Cote has been a long-time entrepreneur, and I hope that we hear from him today about issues associated with the entrepreneurial spirit, the business environment, and the development of the special interest areas like security, which Atlanta has enjoyed. I shouldn't say more than its fair share, because it's enjoyed its fair share, which is extraordinary in arenas of technology and security. So we have an extraordinary panel to hear from today. And what I've asked each of them to give some thought to possibly some opening comments, and then I might ask a question or two and then open it to the audience. In the spirit of my aspiration, though I'm a boomer, of aspiring to be a millennial, I don't carry a watch anymore. So, and so I might pop my phone periodically here to check the time, unless somebody stands up or starts to walk out. And so if I do that, please understand I'm not tweeting Rosen or anything like that. But let's start with Ed about some issues related to certainly. I know his. You want to start with the mayor? I was going to seat you guys in the. So let's start with the mayor. We're going to start and end with Mayor Reed offering some opening and closing comments associated with views of the city, the challenges, the opportunities.
Well, sure. I think that I would start by saying that you should bet on Atlanta. Right now we are going through very tough times, but I think our fundamentals are strong. I think as we have this conversation today, we will demonstrate that. But our biggest asset really is our people. And the reason that I believe you should bet on Atlanta is because we continue to attract some of the most talented people between the ages of 24 and 35 in the United States of America. We have one of the most well-educated metropolitan areas in terms of individuals who have a 4-year degree or more. We are second only to Boston, Massachusetts on the East Coast. So wherever you have a strong collective group of smart people, those areas tend to do well. And that really is the story of our city. We don't have the ocean. We don't have any glorious mountain vistas that are close to us, but we do have people that choose to come to Atlanta and have really built what is the Atlanta story. We also have some other economic fundamentals that are strong. We're expanding at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, building an international terminal that will give the city of Atlanta 84 international destinations when we're done. We're investing $1.6 billion there. You can reach 80% of the population of the United States of America within 2 hours of Atlanta. So we're going to be a logistics center for the Western Hemisphere. So I could stand all day and talk about why we're going to survive what's been the toughest recession since the Great Depression, but I would have confidence and we're going to be just fine. The pairing of the busiest airport on the planet Earth for passenger traffic by 30 million. So the next airport isn't even close. It's an economic generator between 35 and 40 billion dollars, partnered with the fastest growing port on the eastern seaboard in Savannah. Gives us fundamentals that if we don't blow it, should position us to get through this well. So we have hard assets, and we've got brilliant, smart people that are going to figure it out. And that's why I'm glad to be here today.
Can you speak to your recent meeting with President Obama?
No question. Well, what we talked about was the president's focus on job creation, which is a challenge in Atlanta and is a challenge across the United States. So the president, Secretary Geithner, Secretary LaHood, a group of 4 to 6 mayors, 4 former transportation secretaries, and a few others got in a room and spent about 2 hours trying to figure out what is working in terms of national investment. And what an analysis by the Secretary of Treasury shows is that the most important bipartisan thing you can do in the United States of America to address unemployment is invest in infrastructure. So it is the thing that breaks through the political debate. So the president is planning to spend $500 billion over 6 years, $50 billion in 18 months in order to get the economy moving and actually have an area where Republicans and Democrats agree that you can really benefit the economy. What he also shared is a little bit of frustration that items that were identified as a part of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act as shovel-ready haven't been shovel-ready. So the check's been written, but the shovels aren't moving. And if the shovels were moving, we would have a different employment number. And I will share with you that it's rather challenging to sit across the table from a president who's frustrated about something. So it was a robust exchange. But it was good for Atlanta because that's where Atlanta needs to be. I happen to chair the Transportation Committee for the U.S. Conference of Mayors. But on big discussions about the future of the United States of America, For Atlanta to maintain its dominant position as the leading city in the southeastern region of the United States, we always need to be at the table in big national conversations. And that's why I was there. And then when I got back to Atlanta on Friday, we secured a $47 million grant for infrastructure in the city of Atlanta from the Tiger II rounds, which is another place that Atlanta should be. But that was what the conversation
I
was.
call that a highly successful meeting.
Yes, sir.
$47 million.
Exactly. Keep those meetings going, please.
Yeah. Oh, I plan on it.
Sam, you've long been occupied with thoughts about the work environment, the living environment, and its development of talent in our community.
You bet, because talent's the number one reason why companies tell us they move to Atlanta. The number one reason. You have, as the mayor said, that secret demographic that is nicknamed the young and restless. And they are restless, which means we need to pay attention to them because they can pick up and move from a city as easily as they come here. But what we hear people tell us, we survey very carefully companies that move here. This year, for example, we've already captured 41 companies representing 4,500 new jobs. We think that's a pretty good year so far. We think we'll break 5,000 before the end of the year. And I would say to you in this room, you are our talent scouts. And you're our talent nurturers. So we need you desperately for what you do. Because those young and restless are looking around, and we couldn't create a marketing campaign. I don't know, William, if we had the smartest marketing person in the world. It's viral marketing. And that's what they're seeing about us, and that's what they're hearing about us. The number two thing, as the mayor said, is the airport, without any question. Number three thing is all of the colleges and universities that are here that are growing this youthful talent. And as one young man in San Francisco told us in a blind marketing panel, he said, I like Atlanta because it's an FPLM town. And I thought, boy, what is that? And then he told the interviewer, for people like me, because I can go there and feel like I'm on a college university. I can take courses. I can hang out at a bohemian coffee shop. I can go see sports. I can enjoy the arts. It's a kind of place I like to hang out. And my buddies who've moved there all tell me what a great place I'm missing. And by the way, there are a lot of girls there too. So don't dismiss that. But it's our quality of life and it's our cost of living. Those things are all combined. And one of the things that we've really focused on is, as Rick Smith, our chairman last year, told us, don't waste a crisis. A crisis is a great opportunity to get people to come together who otherwise wouldn't work with each other or might disagree. In a crisis, you sort of put your weapons down and talk about, okay, how can we work together? And in this crisis, our board spent a lot of time with Boston Consulting Group saying basically when the storm clears, there are going to be winners and losers. Cities are going to lose, cities are going to win. And as the mayor says, we're going to win. Well, one of the things we talked about is what companies and what industries should we focus on? So we're not trying to shotgun market our region, we're laser marketing. And of course, supply chain and global trade are directly related to Hartsfield's dominance. Nobody's going to build a Hartsfield airport in our lifetime. So we have huge market competition in supply chain and global trade. And the two that we see very strong emerging, as Tino talks about, are high technology and bioscience, but have to drill down in those. And Steve's helped us with Georgia Tech of identifying high-tech wireless communications, internet security, internet content. In other words, you have to really drill down in these and target companies to go after, and that's what we're doing to grow the economy. Now, the other thing we do, we call that the offense. The defense is what problems are getting in the way of our economic success. And by the way, they're byproducts of our success. It's transportation and water, two huge ones. We just haven't built the infrastructure to keep up with our fast pace of growth. And I like to tell that When I was a tech student, the population was 1 million. Well, today it's 5.5 million. And I'm old, but I'm not that old. We've got to invest in our infrastructure. And the third thing we've really got to do is invest in our kids. We got to make sure that the school systems of today can produce a young man who can get into Howard and become mayor. And I'm afraid that in many of our counties around this region, that's a challenge that we got to get better people to run for school board, and we got to demand. So those are the things that we're playing offense on and defense, but they're not easy.
When I visited Atlanta in the early days of '85, and driving down the highway there, I thought, what a boondoggle here. There's 8 lanes here. They're never going to fill this thing. There was nobody on the road here. They're never going to fill this.
Yeah.
Well, somehow that was managed, as you say, by that success. But in my interactions with the chamber, certainly 2 issues often arose: the issue of the education environment, not just for the skilled people, but for their families. And the issue of traffic, which certainly has emerged. Are those still, those are still, if not dominant, there are some leading obstacles.
Sure, and I'd also say, with credit to the mayor, we now have a bill that's been passed that will allow all of us to go to the ballot box in the July of 2012, where we'll have a list of transportation projects in Metro Atlanta that will be picked by our local elected officials from Metro Atlanta. And we'll get a chance to vote on those, a 1-penny sales tax for 10 years. It'll bring us about $7 or $8 billion that we can leverage with at least that much state and federal money that will finally get us a chance to get out of gridlock. And it's going to, I'm confident, going to include a wide variety of projects. So keep that in mind. The summer of 2012 is going to be very important. And of course, the summer of 2012 is also when Federal Judge Magnuson has ordered us to solve the problem of Lake Lanier legal use, or he's going to cut our water off or cut it back to 1972 levels. And public education is a constant. It starts with the school board. I challenge how many of you could name your school board member. You might be able to certainly name your mayor, your county commission chair, but school board members are just as important, because they're the ones who have responsibility for our kids. We can't survive as a metro area by continuing to import our talent. We got to grow more of our own talent right here.
And certainly, Ed, no one has more. He's already got a statement here. No one has a better lens on the evolution of the business community, and both on the large enterprise and the entrepreneurial environment that Mike's been involved in for many years as well, and had a finger on the pulse of the changes going on here.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Opening statement.
Well, you told me I had 19 minutes, so I had to figure I'd fill it. Just kidding, just kidding. First of all, before I say what I'm going to say, I travel a lot. We have business journals in 40 cities. I've been traveling for 20 years, and I still, from my heart of hearts, do believe that this is the best place to do business in this country. Categorically. However, since this is all about improving Tomorrowland, and you all, as you've heard, play such a critical role, I figured that I'd run through really 5 topics and challenge all of us, if you will, because I think that we're all among the mindset of creating a better Atlanta, and I think there are things that we all can do a better job of, that maybe taking a step back and a deep breath for a couple of minutes and rolling through this with me, you'll kind of catch my drift. One is Atlanta is an entrepreneurial market. It has a distinct advantage over many cities in this country. A lot of people don't realize that 95% of all the jobs in this town are companies with 1 to 100 employees. Okay? So let us be clear about that. Where I gain great comfort here in this room, whether it's William or this group up here, is we are all entrepreneurs. I mean, Sam, working for Mr. Portman for so many years, probably the ultimate entrepreneur in Atlanta, if you go back to the history of the Portman Company, or the mayor. What many of you don't realize was, as a teenager, he would go down to the mart and buy gold, take it to his church and sell the jewelry, bag the profit, and then go buy Coca-Cola stock. True?
True.
Okay.
That's
I'm
some
not
research.
kidding.
Just Google it, something else.
And the SecureWorks story is a classic example of what I'm talking about. Point being, where are the jobs of the future going to come from? Where they're going to go to? They're going to work for entrepreneurial companies. Years ago, decades ago, this was a Fortune 5 market. Well, the world's changed, folks. But if you look at the composition today of this market, of the 135,000 companies that are here, that's a big part of the saving grace. It is clearly the direct connection to that airport and all the way down to Savannah. How do we nurture more entrepreneurs of the future? Because that's where the jobs will come from, and we can certainly get into that one. Two is education. I'm a product of the Fulton and DeKalb County school system. Okay, as you can see, I'm not 30 years old anymore. I'm sick and tired for 50 years hearing that we need to improve our education system. Okay, it's been going on since I was a small child in Atlanta, and I will tell you that, in my opinion, business needs to get more involved in education than ever before. This business with what's going on with the school system and the Chamber of Commerce, as an example, is frankly, in my opinion, ridiculous. Business needs to hold education accountable and measurable. I meet with a lot of deans. I'm involved in a lot of schools. The fact of the matter is, we are really, in many cases, not all, not training these kids for jobs of the future. You have tenured professors who haven't worked in business in 20 years. The reality is, the world changes. I'm seeing nodding heads all over the room in the last 5 years like never before. We're not as involved in education as we should be. We're not holding their feet to the fire like we should be. We need to finally get over the hump and get more deeply involved into the education system. Classic example, we're cranking out tons of kids with degrees in marketing. Okay, they're not going to find a job in marketing. Okay, the reality is, a lot of these kids are going to find a job in sales. We have almost no programs, no degrees in this town that will allow these children to get a degree in sales. One of probably 20 real examples I could give you about where the disconnect is between education and business. 20 years ago, J. Jerome Harris was the head of the Atlanta Public School System, and I went to him naively and said, "Can we get more involved with you?" And I was told in no uncertain terms, "Don't even think about it. Business and education are two different disciplines, and never the twain shall meet." I'll never forget that. Here we are 20 years later, and we keep living the same scenario, when in reality, if we're really ever going to make a difference, we need to get past the problem. We are not fixing the problem. I'm in New York a lot. I've been following what's going on in Harlem. It's the greatest case history in America of what could happen here if we had our ducks in a row and our act together and wouldn't take no for an answer. All of you should take a look at what's happening in Harlem. We have, in many respects, demographically and directionally, the same opportunity to fix education. 3, along the way, is leadership. I think we have a terrific mayor, and I say that unabashedly in front of his face. I'm a media guy, and I'm saying that. But the reality is, when it comes to overall leadership, where are the young people? What are we doing? What are you doing to nurture the next generation to leadership? Because fundamentally, they don't want any part of it. I have a 31-year-old son. Okay, I see it from the standpoint of conversations with him, his peers along the way. The older people, not bringing them into the loop. There is no real program to nurture them moving forward. They feel disengaged in many cases. Some are frustrated. Many don't care. But the whole issue of leadership among the young, I think, is a huge issue and a huge opportunity for us. 4 is our aging demographics. Now, we tend to deal with our problems when they become problems. In business, most of you understand this. What's the future? Who's looking around the corner? What's coming next? What should we get ahead of? And in my opinion, the next one is the aging demographic. 79 million baby boomers. In 75 days, they start to turn 65. We're going to have a whole different playing field in Atlanta because we're flooded with baby boomers. We are not going to leave this town. There is no discussion about what we're going to need moving forward. And it needs to get into the equation because every community is going to have hell to pay based on can't find a job, the reality that 40% of these boomers will not have money by the time they pass away. They will be broke. Statistics are showing up to 40% of the boomers will be out of money and still be alive. A friend of mine asked me the other day, got to laugh, what do you think my son should do? He's a really bright kid. He's a junior in high school. He's all A's. We know he's going to go to a great school. What career would you suggest? Thought I was kidding, but I said, geriatric psychiatry. Okay? Let's hold that thought. Okay? Just remember what's happening around us, but there's going to be a whole shift in terms of where people live, how people live, services needed, how we're going to pay for it, and a whole new world of homeless people coming. Okay? We're not going to be out of this employment hole for really quite some time. The impact, I don't believe we've felt completely as well along the way. And my last one deals with wellness. If I had a wish, if I were the Supreme Commander, I would re-engage all of you into a dialogue with all of us on how to create a well and healthy community. It's a big issue. We are the fried chicken capital of the world. We are not doing a very good job of taking care of ourselves. It is not a conversation in this community. The impact, as you all know, on cost of health services, I'm looking at another 12% increase next year in taking care of my employees. But we need to change and open up the conversation. 2.5 months ago, I had prostate cancer. Okay? Early detection saved my life. In the 2.5 months that I've gone public with this, I've now sent 13 of my friends to the doctor because they're in denial. Boys don't carry maps. Right, ladies? You know what I'm talking about. The truth of the matter is, if we had more of a corporate focus, especially in your world, on how to improve lifestyle, we'd save a lot of money, we'd save a lot of lives, and it should be a conversation that we currently really don't have to a great degree. And I'll be quiet.